Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with HealthyBlackWoman.com and TheBlackHomeschool.com. With me today is my good friend Shaquita Graham with LovingTheBlackMan.com and Attechco.com. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing good, Noma. How are you?
I'm doing well. I love that I'm having this conversation with you, a fellow homeschooling mom. The story that I want to highlight is at theblackHomeschool.com, and the title is Award-Winning Teacher Resigns After Telling Students She's Only Good for Sex. Now, I'll just read a little bit of the story here. Corey Hunter, who's the teacher, was formerly a teacher at Greene County High School in Greensboro, Georgia. Oh, so this is in your backyard, Shaquita. Earlier this month, Hunter embarrassed a black female 11th grade student in front of the class by calling her dumb and saying that she'd never be good for anything in life other than making babies and having sex. So according to the blackhomeschool.com, the teacher just recently resigned after saying this to this young lady. So thoughts?
The thoughts are that it's more of the same, and it's really sad that the millions or hundreds of thousands of people who are attending the racist white power Klan meetings called the Trump rallies are pouring out of there right into our schools, right into our everything, restaurants, hospitals, police stations to work. And this is the results that we get because we have this propaganda out there about black women and black men and who they are. And we have people who love to feed into hatred, like this person that you call a teacher, who's really just another race soldier, out here harming our children. While we're trying to go out and work, we think school is a safe place for our kids, but it is not. I mean, the UN just recently hinted at a report that they're about to release about how horrified they are about the American school system. And it's no place for a child. It's no place for a black child.
What makes me sad about this story is that the teacher was a black male who was saying this about this young black girl.
Wow.
And they recorded him. Apparently the school issues iPads to the students. So the young lady recorded him. And this is more of what he said. He said, I have been around 37 years, and clearly you're the dumbest girl I've ever met. This is quote, I have been around 37 years, and clearly you're the dumbest girl I've ever met. You know what your purpose is going to be? To have sex and have children, because you ain't never going to be smart. And apparently this whole thing went on for about 4 minutes, where he just talked to her in such a degrading way. And I don't know if I could even call it lucky, but lucky for her, she caught it on, because she caught the audio. She recorded the audio, because if she hadn't, then probably we wouldn't even be talking about it right now. And another thing that comes to my mind is that if he's saying this and going on for 4 minutes like this and, just abusing her this way, to me it indicates that he probably has been doing that not just to her, but he's in the habit of abusing students and gets away with it, because then when they leave the classroom, he can excuse it or he can deny it or whatever. But in this case, it was actually recorded. Now, I know that your kids have been in the school system, but you ended up taking them out. Can you tell me a little bit, or at least tell our audience a little bit about why you decided to pull your kids out of public school?
Because I realized that I could never make the public school system conform to something that would be good for my children. The teacher in my son's 4th grade class told the entire class that Mike Brown was a thug and that Darren Wilson was just protecting himself. In my son's 1st grade class, they gave him a test asking him, basically his test, one of the questions on the test said, when was Harriet Tubman not brave? When she helped other slaves escape, when she escaped herself, or when she hid her master in the head with an iron. So again, they are breeding in our children a passive behavior to terror. And unfortunately, my son got 100% on the exam. And all I could do when he was coming to tell me how proud he was he got 100% is go and shut the door in my room and just cry. And I said, I have to take my children out of this school. I've worked in the school system and I've seen Black people disregard our children and say, these children are messed up. It's no help for them. And it's sad when Black people buy into an inferiority complex about who we are as a people and what we can accomplish as a community. And we see it all too often. Stacey Dash.
In your son's defense, I want to say that he was just regurgitating what the teacher had taught him. So he was being a good student in the sense that he was taught something and then they gave him a test and he gave back what was taught to him in that particular instance. And of course, then the flaw wasn't in his answer, but in what he was taught. And that led to you pulling him out of school. One of the things that really hurts me about the story is that it was a Black male doing this to a young Black woman. My experience with homeschooling is that I started homeschooling because we kept running into all white public school systems, which started to treat our kids like being Black meant that something was wrong with them, to the point where I remember we were in a meeting with a superintendent for my daughter's schools, and she was likening Blackness to disabilities. In other words, she was saying, my daughter is disabled and this is what we have to do for her. So your daughter, blah, blah, blah. And, she didn't get to finish her sentence because my husband and I both jumped in with what? Are you seriously saying that being Black is now something that you see as a disability? And mind you, this was the assistant or the superintendent. I feel bad that I can't remember if it was the superintendent or the assistant superintendent. But it was somebody in an administrative role, and that some of these patterns start in the administrative level and they go right down to the teacher who's on the ground level with your kids. I often hear parents saying that they're unable to homeschool because they're working or because they feel they're not educated enough or they're not equipped and so forth. But to me, it still comes down to the fact that would you rather have somebody berate your child on a daily basis, give them the wrong information, teach them to hate themselves? How many years is elementary school? How many years is middle and high school? Would you rather they spent those 13 or however 12, 13 years learning to hate themselves and learning that there's something wrong with them, or would you rather bring them in under your wing and use another system that could possibly do things for them that you could not even have ever imagined? Of course, I'm asking the wrong person because you're already homeschooling your kids.
But I had to face that question. It came down to me realizing that I'm using the school as a babysitting tool. Like, I'm jeopardizing my kids' safety because I want what I think is a babysitter, pretty much, because I'm saying that I need to take them there so that they can be somewhere while I'm at work. Right. And I just said, you know what, I can't be the kind of mother that jeopardizes their safety. And the other question I would ask is, when has buying into any system that was created and dominated by white methodologies or white people ever benefited us? How is that going to really, if you really think that sending them to these schools is going to benefit them, all the things that you think about the Black community right now, all the ways that we need improvement, we've been going to these schools, these colleges, these Ivy League colleges, these private schools, these Christian schools, and yet we still have our children being shot in the street and a teacher going in the classroom and justifying it. And we have so many coons out here that can go and talk to that young Black woman like that because they are a product of the public food system. That we have a factory for coons and race traitors right there in the school system.
Right. Well, the good news, if we can call it that, is that this teacher has since resigned. And the reason why he resigned is because the audio clip of him berating this young woman went viral. And, I'm still questioning how the school administration heard about it and didn't fire him, and then he ended up quitting. That's still a question that's pending in my mind. But it is what it is. We can at least accept that one person is gone that was hurting the kids in that school system. But the fact that he wasn't fired to begin with already tells me something. And I know I've said, I see some of the comments sometimes when I post things about homeschooling. I have a whole course that teaches parents how to transition their children from the public school system into homeschooling, or not even just transition the children, but transition a family, because it is a family effort. Yeah. The question always comes up of, not everybody can do this, not everybody wants this, and so on, but I just want to urge parents that it should at least be a consideration. It should at least be a consideration. I'm repeating myself, because sometimes really putting your kids in the public school system is so detrimental to them that you are not going to realize it until it's too late. Then at that point, you may not be able to do anything about it. The one thing I can say about homeschooling is, if in fact you do pull your kids out of the public school system, and you homeschool them and you realize it doesn't work, you can put them back. However, if you keep them in the public school system and it destroys them from the inside out, you can't change that. So I do want to encourage parents to just kind of please take it as a consideration. And if you can't do it and you just absolutely feel like you cannot do it, I encourage homeschooling supplementally or part-time, where you make sure that your kids are getting what they need after school, on the weekends, and in the summers, and maybe that could be the stepping stone to eventually doing it completely. And I know you're a homeschooling parent, and one of the things about that I can say about Shaquita that I know is that you work full time, but you and your husband are able to make it work. With the use of technology and flexible schedules. And again, people say, well, I don't have a flexible schedule. Well, get a job with a flexible schedule. Your kids' well-being depends on it, And I'm not being insensitive. I just think that I'm just kind of tired of hearing parents say, I can't. And in the meantime, at this point, you're just throwing your kids to the wolves. A lot of the time, and I can't do it. Just isn't good enough anymore, I feel. What do you think?
And, I just want to encourage parents to, number one, use resources like your course in the Black Homeschool about homeschooling. Use Facebook groups like the Black Homeschool. Get a co-op with other Black mothers in your community, right, that you find in Facebook groups, so you guys can work together to take care of your children. You guys can hire a teacher. You can get 5 or 10 students together, hire a teacher, do it at the Y, do it at the community center, do it at this Black church supposed to be in your neighborhood, helping your neighborhood. And then think about the fact that your child, when they go to school, they're surrounded by evil forces, whether it's from the teacher, from the curriculum, from other kids, whether it's kids who are raised to be racist, or whether it's Black kids who have an inferiority complex, or whether it's bullies. So you're just throwing them into that environment.
Or the whole system as a whole. The whole system as a whole.
Right. Yeah. So that's all I have to say about it. We could go on about this. These are charged topics that we talk about.
Right. So this, of course, is Shaquita Graham, and I want to highlight in this conversation Attechco.com, which is actually a platform that she created that uses technology to educate children online. And what I love about Attechco.com is that it's created by a Black woman, obviously, and it's created with Black kids in mind, and all the illustrations and all the lessons, Afrocentric, if that's what you want to call it. So I think that's a great tool to have. I am Nomalanga, Mhlauli-Moses. I am the founder of theblackhomeschool.com. And as I mentioned before, I did put together a series of lessons to help parents transition from public school to homeschool, and you can find that at the blackhomeschoolguide.com. It's at the Black Business School. Again, it's the blackhomeschoolguide.com. I want to say thank you to Shaquita Graham for joining me in this conversation, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you guys.